typical work week, an individual contributor is attending 5 to 8 meetings a week on average to talk about their work. So they're presenting upwards. On the other hand, managers or executives, they are attending 12 to 17 plus meetings where they are listening downwards to whatever is being presented to them. Now, if you want to give a business presentation that lands with your audience on the first try, you have to understand these numbers. Because these people that you're presenting to, whether that's buy-in, whether that's just telling them what you're doing, whether that's asking or suggesting something to them, they're actually listening to 17 other presentations like this, because a lot of people just want to talk to them and suggest whatever it is that they want to give them. So you can imagine that this person that you're trying to influence has a lot of information going on their head, because they're just not listening to you in your presentation. They're dealing with 17 other people as well, giving them more and more information. And the fact that these people that you're trying to influence have a lot of information in their head gets in the way of your message getting stuck and them taking an action on your call to action at the end of your presentation. Therefore, you not getting what you want. So in this video, I'm going to talk about the blueprint to make a business presentation that lands with your audience on the first try without spending a lot of hours preparing, practicing, and delivering your presentation. I have to say, when you're trying to learn the system, it will take more of your time, because then you are rewiring however it is that you're doing presentation. So at first it will take a little bit of more time, but then once it becomes automatic, you don't have to spend more time for it. It's like driving, it's like whatever skill you want to develop. At first it's a bit harder because it's against whatever you know already, but once you learn it, it will become effortless. And you will be able to do this without polished slides. This is one of the things that I see a lot from people, that they think whenever they have great slides, whenever they have amazing looking, visually great looking presentations and slides, that determines that they're ready to go and present. Feeling that a presentation equals slides. Once you have slides, you have a presentation. I want you to get rid of that idea. If you do not have a clear message, if you do not have a good call to action that I'm going to talk about a little bit later in the video, your great slides will be visual aid to nothing. Because you have nothing. Those slides will not help you get your way, because they're supposed to be the visual aid to whatever you're having as your message. But if you do not have a message, who cares if you have great looking slides? Furthermore, you will be able to do this without demonstrating showmanship. Again, this is one of the things that comes to people's mind when they talk about business storytelling, or storytelling in general for that matter. They think that storytelling is a magical thing, that you have to have it inherently in you, wired, and you cannot develop that. Well, let me tell you, my friend, storytelling does not equal showmanship. You can be a great storyteller, in this case, business storyteller, without showing a lot of showmanship. And in fact, it's not even needed. When we're talking about presentations in the business setting, it is your key message that is required, not showmanship and being charming and everything else. And last but not least, you will be able to do that without having an absolutely groundbreaking idea. This is again one of the things that keeps people from acting on sharing their idea, because they feel like they don't have a groundbreaking idea that they want to take up some of these leadership people. Well, you do not need that to have a good story to tell your audience, okay? So you will be able to have a blueprint to make a business presentation that lands with your audience on the first try without any of this. And the reason why I bring these 4 points up, because a lot of the times we are thinking that in order for us to be a good business storyteller or business presenter, we have to tick all the boxes. And if that is your mindset, if that's what you think, you're going to nurture the perfectionist within you. And I'm guessing that you have it in you. I mean, I do. And guess what a perfectionist doesn't do? Take a step. Do the thing. A perfectionist is always waiting for everything to be great to start. But once you realize that you can do this without these 4 points, it's a relief. It's like, okay, I don't have to be special. I don't have to be magical. I can do it. And yes, you can. As the first step into our blueprint, I want to talk about 3 mindsets towards presentations, because mindsets are super important as they determine how we're going to approach our presentations. This is coming from all the people I've seen, all the people that I've worked with, and everyone who I have coached. I think there's a group which I call the content people. So these kind of people, they are really introspective. They know a lot, they're probably the subject matter expert in whatever they do, and they have a ton of information. This specific thing, having a lot of information, is what unites them all. They have a lot of information, and most of the time they want to share everything all at once. Therefore, they cannot really find the thread in their story. And this results two kinds of behaviors for them. Either they don't present at all because they never feel ready, or they present something that is super overwhelming as it has a ton of information that is not really relevant to the key message that they have. So they cannot be really selective with whatever it is that they want to talk about. So the solution is to include everything in it. That's more the content people, who as a result will treat presentations like a report. So usually the presentations from these people has a lot of words in it, has so many things on it that is super unnecessary to whatever they want to say. So they will lose the attention of their audience. They will not make the mark that they wanted. Now I want to talk about the second group of people that I've seen, which, oh, this is more beautiful, which I call delivery people. Yes. Delivery people are people who like the spotlight, who whatever it is that they want to talk about, they will have a lot of showmanship in it. They're charming, they talk about it a lot. And in general, they don't shy away from talking. These are the people who are mainly applying to be a guest speaker somewhere or to give a keynote speech somewhere. They become volunteers. But the problem becomes, at least from what I've seen, is that sometimes because they are talking a lot and talking everywhere, they might be perceived a little bit shallow in terms of the information they have, and they lack a bit of subject matter expertise, as they are not selective about which topic to talk about and when to talk about it. The second problem is that a lot of the times you have fun when they're presenting, but at the end, you don't know what it is that you need to take away from, or what was the key message? What are they asking me to do as a listener? Is it okay if I just have fun, or is it something that I need to do? And of course, it is their loss, the presenter's loss, because they could not get you to do whatever they wanted to do at the end of the presentation. As a result, you walk away from their presentations with unclarity, not knowing what it is required from you to do. Hopefully, there is a third group, which is the best of both worlds. You know, these people, the content people and delivery people, whatever they are showing is a little bit innate nature. So if they are more content driven, being that they want to be ready and have all the information out there and are very introspective and thinking a lot about what they want to say, it's quite nature. And it's the same with delivery people as well. Some people are innately, that could be nature and nurture, that they're quite outspoken. They're easy with words. They have higher verbal intelligence. They talk easily. They're confident. They're competent. But that is nature and nurture. It's not deliberate education. Where things become deliberate is in the middle, where people who are more content-driven and delivery-driven deliberately decide that they need to move to the middle to balance themselves out. Being content and delivery is two ends of a spectrum, but you need to be in the middle so you have enough content and you have enough delivery. That's what makes you a great presenter, and that's the mindset that you need to have. So how do these people get here? They realize where they are, they realize where they want to go, and then they decide how. So that's the level of intentionality that you want in order to be a great presenter. That's the mindset as a precursor to becoming a great presenter and having effective business presentations that lands with your audience. Now, going back to our topic, where we want to have business presentations that land with our audience on the first try, this is where mindsets come in. Because whatever mindset you have to your presentations determines the outcome of your presentation. So if you're more in content, then the outcome will be a mishmash of a lot of information, no clear story, no thread in the story, and you will lose your audience's attention. Whereas if you are more in the delivery part, you might not be very clear with your messaging and what you want your audience to do. So you want to be in the middle because that determines where you will end up with the outcome of your presentation. Now, this brings us to the number one rule for making an effective business presentations. Before I dive into this one, I want to tell you, I have interviewed 20 plus people on their presentation and delivery skills. And I've identified 11 common mistakes with everyone. I've created a 40-minute webinar explaining all of these 11 mistakes. And if you want to have access to it, write in the comments, give me the mistakes, and I'll send you the link on demand. Now, let's go back to the number one rule for making an effective business presentation, a non-negotiable, something that you need to understand before you even start building a presentation. And that is the difference between inspire and inform. Now, what do we mean with this? So when we talk about inform, we mean that there needs to be a call to action or a CTA, or there needs to be a decision to be made, and you tell people what to do. So you're either recommending or suggesting something. But when we talk about inspire, we don't care about if they do anything. It's up to them if they do whatever it is that requires in their job, but there's no specific task for them. But the only job of an inspirational talk is to create motivation. That's his job. So that's the difference between inspiring and informing people. When it comes to business presentations, it's mainly about informing because there's a decision to be made, there is a key call to action, and you want your audience to do something for you or for themselves or for whatever good of the business. So you never make a presentation without a call to action. Informative presentations are not a thing anymore. I will talk about this a little bit later. Now, before I write a diagram here, I want to tell you, I'm super against giving generic advice, tips and tricks of something that is quite generic for people to use. I'm more in the favor of giving you frameworks, mindsets, and understanding deeply what it is that I'm talking about. Then you will be able to make your decisions. That is why, to understand inform and inspiral presentations, we need to understand this diagram where we have inspire here and we have inform here. Well, it's obvious that we have 4 kinds of presentations based on the level of information and the level of inspiration we are having in it. This is what a lot of people get wrong. They confuse inspiration with information, and at the end, because they don't know what they are after, they create a mishmash of something that has a bit of inspiration, a little bit of information that gets nowhere. But we're talking about giving a business presentation that lands with your audience. And landing it is all about understanding which quadrant of this matrix you want to operate in. I'll quickly show you what each of these quadrants mean. So when you have a talk which has a lot of inspiration and not much of an information, so here, this is mainly, could be things like stand-up comedy, right? There's a lot of inspiration in there, but there's not really a clear action point. It's mainly motivational. You just have to have fun, enjoy it, but there's no clear action point. So the talk or the presentation is mainly inspirational. Another example of this is motivational keynotes. If you go to conferences, you see a lot that they bring someone who is quite motivational. They give a motivational keynote speech so that you are up and lifted for the other informative presentations that come after it. Then we've got presentations that are high in inspire and high in inform. This could be things like TED Talks, right? TED Talks is also a lot of inspiration, a little bit of inform as well, but it's good enough. It also could be thought leadership keynotes. So whenever in your company you want to show them that you are a thought expert or a thought leader in a specific topic, this is what topic or this is what presentation you will have to have in order to achieve that level of motivation and also information. It could be things like lunch and learns. They have this a lot in companies. And then we've got ones that have a lot of information but not so much inspiration. These are a lot of, could be business presentations, could be reports. Also, could be things like quarterly updates, quite dry. It's a lot of information and action to be taken, but it's not going to inspire you to do something if there's no motivation involved. And then here, when there's no inspiration and when there's no information, this is noise, my friend. And you never want to be noise. If there's nothing to inspire about it, if there's nothing to inform about, you may as well not even give a presentation because that will be noise to everyone's ears. So don't do that. You never want to be a noise. But when it comes to business presentations, this area, this is where you want to be. Depending on the type of presentation you want to give. In my program, I talk about 10 different presentation types. They all range between these 2 quadrants of the matrix, and they all have their specific method, structure, and key messaging. So you need to first pinpoint what it is that you're trying to achieve with your presentation. Where does it lie on the matrix of inform versus inspire? Because once you understand that, that will help you determine the key messaging, the call to action, and the structure that you want to use in your presentation that I will talk about a little bit later. Now that we understand the number 1 rule for creating a business presentation, and we know that we need to operate in this purple area, there are 2 things that we need to determine. One is our key message, And second is our call to action. Without these points, you never start a presentation. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen people that the first thing that they do when they want to prep a presentation is opening up the slide making software without knowing what it is that they want to tell, what action they want to require from the audience, who is even in the audience. Please remove this from yourselves that a presentation is a slide. No, first key message and then call to action. These two things need to be there to be informative and inspiring. So that's the second thing I'm going to talk about, creating the key message and the call to action for your presentation. And remember, if you want to learn about the top 11 mistakes that people make when they want to make a business presentation, write in the comments, give me the mistakes, and I will send you the link on demand. Now, talking about creating the key message and the call to action for our presentation, which is the number one thing we have to determine before we do anything else, we have to get one thing straight, is that we are not giving a presentation for transferring information, but we are doing it for audience transformation. So we don't want to transfer information, but we do want to transform our audiences. Now you might be wondering, what the heck, what does this mean? I'm going to tell you. So in transferring of information was a thing for a not long time ago, before we had ChatGPT and all of these AI tools. Before these tools, information used to be a commodity. Information used to be something that people pay for, would want to sit and listen it from somewhere. Now, because of AI, there's a vast amount of information out there that we cannot sit in another presentation just to give us more information. What is now needed is transformation, which we call the audience transformation. So transferring information is a no-no. Audience transformation is a yes. So we have a lot of data today. We don't care about it anymore. That's why informative presentations are not a thing anymore. You do not give a presentation to inform other people. Nobody has time for that. Nobody has the attention span for that. But you want to transform your audience. Now let's talk about the audience transformation, because it might be probably a little bit abstract for you at this point. So whenever you give a presentation, you're transforming your audience from point A to point B. So your audience, very beautiful, are at point A when they enter your presentation, when they realize that you want to talk to them. And point B is where you would like them to be. And from point A to point B, we've got a transformation, or we've got a journey. I will explain a little bit more to make it more clear. So in point A, or in the as-is situation, your audience is coming into your presentation with their own priorities, with their own beliefs about what is important, with their own problems, with their own ideas. They have their whole world wrapped around them. And then they come to your presentation and you have designed a point for them as point B, where you would like them to be, where you have a call to action and a key message. So your job as a presenter is to transform your audience from wherever they are to where you would like them to be. Because remember, you want to maybe get their buy-in, you want to ask them to do something, you want to ask them to give you budget, whatever it is that you are asking them or asking an action from them, that's point B. And wherever they are at point A, your job is to transform them from point A to point B with your presentation, with you, presenter, as the guide. And once you understand this, that you need to transform your audience from one point to another, then if you have a lot of data, this is data if you don't know what I'm doing. If you have a lot of data that you need to choose from to present, you realize that for your message, maybe you need to pick these specific points to help your audience get to point B. So you don't need all, but you need this specific part so that your audience will understand where you would like them to be with your call to action, with your message. So this is what we mean with transforming your audience. And if you understand this concept, you will design your presentation like a journey that you are taking your audience on with you as the guide, with a destination that has your call to action and your message on it. whatever that might be for you. So now that we know that we need to design your presentation so that our audience get to this point with our call to action and message, now let's use a template to define our message. You can use this one. My presentation will help, well, your audience understand that what is your single big idea or whatever your message is, so that they will do whatever you want them to do. So then you have your messaging and then you have your call to action in one sentence. If you can do this, my friend, and if you can put this on a post-it and then start creating your presentation slides, then you will win. And a lot of people do it the other way around. They start creating slides and they start thinking through the slides, which is super messy, super time-consuming, until they get to this point. And a lot of them don't get to this point. So if you ask them, what is your presentation about? It's like, I'm giving an update on this presentation, or I'm sharing the insights. Sharing the insights is not a key idea or a key message with a call to action. You need to be clear, crystal clear about your key message and your call to action so that your audience will reach there with your presentation. Otherwise, you might not really need to present anything. Now, I will tell you a couple of examples of different roles so that you can understand what I mean with this key message and call to action. Let's say that you're a product manager and you are giving a shareholder update with your stakeholders. You could say that this presentation helps stakeholders understand that we should prioritize user onboarding improvements so that we can increase, for example, activation or reduce churn. That's super easy. Instead of just saying that my presentation is about an update on this project, you can say that with a call to action, with a simple message. Or imagine that you're an engineer and you want to give an update to your fellow engineers on a deep dive. It could be things like, this presentation will help engineering team understand that our current architecture is creating bottlenecks, or so that we can refactor it to improve, performance and reliability. You can understand what is the key message and what is the call to action, instead of randomly being like, hey guys, I did a project, I want to update you guys, or at least tell you and show you what I did in a presentation. Nobody can retell and share or reshare that story with other people because they don't know what it is that you're going to talk about. So this is how you can think about creating the key message and your call to action that you need to design for your audience's transformation from one point to another with your call to action and your key message. Now that we understand this, we want to move towards structuring the stops in the journey. You're going to hear this a lot from me, that any presentation is the transformation of your audience from one point to another. And it will come up a lot in whatever I'm going to explain to you. So we know that from point A to point B, we need to transform our audience, right? And we know that in point B, we need to have call to action and we need to have a key message, like I shared a little bit earlier. So when you understand that there's a point A and there's a point B, where audiences are at the moment and where you would like them to be, it is easier to think about all the stops in between so that you can make sure your audience will actually reach the second point or whatever you want them to be. These are like stop points so that you can make sure that actually people are following along, and if somebody is maybe drifting off, you can get them back and put them on the journey. People might be going around, maybe they're distracted, maybe they don't understand the thing. You want to get them back in these spots. And this happens via having a good structure for your story. You know where people are, you know where they're going to be. You need to make a structure so that people actually follow the steps and follow your thinking so that they can see what you see. They can feel the urgency that you feel for that specific call to action that you're asking them. When it comes to structures, there are multiple ways that you can decide and choose which ones you want to take. And in my program, I have 10 different ways for the different kind of presentations. But for the sake of this video, I want to talk about the most generic ones that you can take and personalize for your own story, because it will work in almost every setting. And if you learn to tweak it well, it will serve you in all of your business presentations. And it's a method we call SCCR. So S is situation, C is complication, the second C is a challenge, and the R is desired or actual result. So it's SCCR as the structure of your business story you want to tell. Situation is the status quo. It's telling the audience, building the context, setting the stage for whatever you want to tell them. It's about telling that this and this and this is happening right now. This is the status quo. This is the situation as we speak. Complication is explaining why that status quo or that situation I just talked about not going to serve us well in the future. This is where we talk about that if we leave the situation as is, it will put us in a disastrous moment in a year or 2 years or something like that. You would want to say that complication will arise if we do not do anything about the status quo, in this case, the situation. Challenge is being very specific on what it is that you would like to provide offer for. There might be multiple challenges, you can lay those out, then pick the highest priority ones for your presentation. And then desired or result is either your recommendation for whatever needs to happen, or if you've done it, sharing the information with them and asking for follow-up steps. So SCCR, situation, complication, challenge, and result. That's the simplest way you can tell a business story while having your key message and call to action. Now that we understand structure, I want to talk about landing your message, because the topic of the video is how do we give business presentations that land with the audience on the first try. We've talked about so many different things, and now we're going to talk about landing the message with your actual audience. Landing a message has two parts to it. One is audience centricity, and the other one is audience receptivity. These 2 points are crucial for your message to land with your audience. And I will explain what these are in a sec. First, I'm going to start with audience centricity. This is where a lot of people go wrong. They feel like that the presentation is about them. Everything that they do and everything that they tell is the way they've rehearsed it. They don't show flexibility when other people have questions. They do not like other people interrupting them while they're speaking because they have practiced it in a way in their head and they don't really want to mess that up. So everything revolves around the presenter for them, whereas everything should be around the audience. Your point of the presentation is to connect with your audience so that they can be transformed in order to act on your call to action and your key message. We talked a lot about the presentation being a journey from point A to point B. And for whatever story you're telling your audience, they are the hero. Your audience is the hero of the story you're telling as a presenter. Doesn't matter which setting. We're talking about business setting right now, but still, your audience is your hero. Your audience is the one who's going through obstacles. Your audience is the one who's going to feel different things once you are presenting. So once you present everything and create your presentation around the audience, everything changes for you. And at this point, you might be thinking, well, I have 15 people in my audience. Do I need to prepare everything for them? Like, who do I choose that I can tailor my message towards them? I have different methods for them. But for this specific video, let's talk about this. You need to do a little bit of stakeholder management where you categorize people based on their influence on your project and their interest. So very simply said, influence is like how easy is it for them to kill your project? Are they budgeting it? Are they the key decision maker? Can you kill or break your presentation? Can they uplift it? What is the actual authority of that person? And interest is how interested are they in your presentation, in your project, in you, and how much impact will it have on them if you succeed, if you will not. So based on this, you want to pick the ones with the most influence and the most interest, because these, my friend, these are your key players. We have different strategies for the people on the other quadrants, but for this specific video, I'm going to talk about only the key players. Pick the key players based on the influence level and the interest level and tailor your message towards them, your key message, your call to action, so that you will get the buy-in that you want. This brings us to audience receptivity. Now, this will get a little bit nerdy and neuroscience-y because I'm a lot into neuroscience, because I think that whenever you want to teach someone something, or if you want to influence them in your presentation, you need to understand how your brain and how theirs will work so that you can actually influence and impact this. And when it comes to audience receptivity, you need to understand this. There is a part in our brain, oh gosh, this is the brain, the worst drawer ever. If this is our brain, there is a part in it called the amygdala. Amygdala's job is to inform other people of any danger surrounding them. So if you think about our ancestors, when we were working or living in the wild, whenever there was a lion, whenever there was something that would eat us or kill us, amygdala would say, hey human, go fight or flight, run away or go fight that thing so that you can stay alive. So it's all about survival instinct. And it has two different ways of doing this. One is fight, and the other thing is flight. So if you were strong enough, you would fight. If you felt like that you can run away from the situation, you would run. These two were the only options. But now in this world, we do not have those kind of problems anymore. There's no lion attacking me, or there's nothing going to attack me because they're going to kill me or eat me. But still, amygdala is there in our brain. And why I bring this in audience is because whenever you say something in your presentation that sets people on the edge, they feel a little bit of danger, whether you're stepping on someone's toes, whether you're asking them to do something they don't want, maybe you're asking them to do a trade-off that they don't have in their head, amygdala starts alarming and saying that fight or flight. And what do you do as a fight or flight when you are listening to somebody else's presentation? Well, if you're fighting, you will start criticizing, you'll start shouting, you will start saying something to minimize the impact that the other person was trying to make. And if you were to be put on flight mode, then you would stop listening. People will tune out, we will not listen. And those two will all get in the way of your message getting received. So you need to understand this for your audience receptivity if you want to get your way. Now we've talked a lot about how you can give a presentation that lands with your business audience in the first try. So I want to leave you with a few metrics that you can tell that your business presentation actually has landed. Because how can you tell, right? We're trying so much to give a story and to get your message across, to have a call to action, to have a message. How can you tell that you did it? I'm going to give you 4 different things. One is that somebody who you're trying to influence will actually do something towards your call to action. So they will do whatever you're asking them, or at least take the first step. Second is that your message will start getting shared more. People can tell other people that this person is working on this person has this proposal, can we do something together? Third, your presentation will get shared. So if you've got slides, you will see that your slides are going around and around to reach other people's minds because your message is getting more contagious to reach other people. And last but not least, you get referred to by other people. So your message has landed with someone and they will refer somebody else to you so that you can both work on it together. And that's the beauty of your business presentation landing, because then you will be able to work on something that you love, not just being a passive person working on whatever other people tell you. Now, to bring it all full circle, we talked about the mindset, we talked about picking the right presentation type, we talked about the clear messaging and the CTA and the fact that presentations are a transformation of the audience, not transferring the information. Also, we talked about the structure and making the audience a little bit more receptive and center our presentations around them. Now remember, if you want to know about the 11 common mistakes in business presentations coming off of the interviews I've done with people, be sure to comment, give me the mistakes, and I will send you the link on demand. Now, if you feel a little bit like the content people who like to think a lot about whatever they want to say or have a lot of information to share, you might be in the expert trap. And I recommend you highly to watch this video where I talk about how you can escape the expert trap with your presentations. Thank you and see you next time.